Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Intervlog, your window to Africa and the world, where we bring you stories that matter, with the calmness of truth and the precision of balance. Today, our lens turns to Nigeria, the giant of Africa, where whispers of a possible coup attempt have stirred anxiety, debate, and deep reflection about the future of democracy in West Africa's largest nation. In this edition, we shall take you through the full story, from the alleged plot and arrests, to the public outrage, to the responses of senior lawyers, retired generals, civil societies, and ordinary Nigerians. We shall also explore what this might mean for Nigeria's stability, the region's democratic trajectory, and the moral weight that sits upon the shoulders of its leaders and citizens. And along the way, Intervlog will share a few African parables in Pidgin English, short, vivid sayings that reflect the wisdom of our people. We'll interpret them in English so that everyone, from Lagos to London, from Kano to Kigali, may understand the heartbeat behind our words. It began as quiet murmurs within the military barracks, whispers that some officers were dissatisfied, others disillusioned. Then came the arrests. According to Premium Times and Sunday Punch, about 20 officers were detained by the Defense Intelligence Agency for allegedly plotting to overthrow President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government and dismantle Nigeria's democratic order. The allegations were grave. The suspected officers reportedly had a date, October 25th, set aside for their strike. Some sources claimed it could have been even earlier, on Independence Day, October 1st. The plot, according to insiders, went beyond a simple power grab. It allegedly involved plans to eliminate key Nigerian leaders, including President Tinubu, Vice President Kashim Shettima, Senate President Godswill Akpabio, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas. The conspirators, sources said, had informants inside the presidential villa tracking the movements of these top officials. Their mission, according to reports, was simple yet sinister: to eliminate these leaders simultaneously and install a military government. But before October 1st dawned, arrests began. The alleged plot was disrupted, the Independence Day parade was quietly canceled, and a cloud of tension descended upon Abuja. When the reports first broke, the presidency and the defense headquarters responded cautiously. Brigadier General Tukur Gusau, the defense headquarters spokesperson, released a statement on the 4th of October. He denied that any coup was in motion, saying instead that the detained officers were being investigated for indiscipline and breach of service regulations. He added that the officers' grievances stemmed from career stagnation and repeated failure in promotion examinations. In other words, what the public heard as coup was, officially, described as disciplinary action within the army. But questions remained. If it was only indiscipline, why cancel the Independence Day parade, one of Nigeria's most symbolic annual ceremonies? Why the silence from the presidency? And why did sources within the military itself speak of something far more serious? It was this silence that turned whispers into speculation, and speculation into fear. Once the news spread, the Nigerian public reacted with shock. For many citizens, the word coup brought back memories they would rather forget. Memories of military boots, decrees, and long nights without democracy. Civil society groups, senior lawyers, and retired generals spoke almost with one voice. No going back to military rule. Human rights lawyer, Mr. Ebun-Olu Adegborua, SAN, stated it clearly. No hardship or political dissatisfaction can justify truncating democracy. The worst civilian government is still better than the best military dictatorship. Another lawyer, Kunle Adegoke, SAN, called any talk of a coup unwarranted, unnecessary, and condemnable, warning that it would have disastrous consequences not only for Nigeria, but for the entire African continent. Yusuf Ali, SAN, added his voice. Military intervention in governance would be catastrophic. We are still suffering from the consequences of prolonged military rule. The message was clear. Nigerians, despite their frustrations with governance, do not wish to return to the barracks. Parable 1. Pigeon. Even if monkey dey vex say bush dry, e no go live for lion den. Explanation. Even when citizens are frustrated by poor governance, the solution is not to return to dictatorship. The jungle of tyranny is worse than the hunger of democracy. To understand why Nigerians are so wary of coups, one must remember their history. Since independence in 1960, Nigeria has experienced multiple military takeovers, from the coups of 1966 that led to civil war to those of 1975, 1983, 1985, and 1993. Each promised reform and discipline. Each ended with repression and stagnation. The last military ruler, General Abdul Salami Abubakar, handed power to a civilian government in 1999. Since then, Nigeria has enjoyed its longest stretch of democratic governance in history. For 26 years, through economic turbulence and political friction, the civilian flag has stayed raised. That is why this alleged coup plot strikes such a deep emotional chord. It is not merely a political story, it is a reminder of a painful past. Retired officers were among the first to downplay the possibility of a coup, insisting that today's military is not the same as yesterday's army. Brigadier General Bashir Adewinbi Retidi described the rumors as politically motivated, saying that the military is solidly behind President Tinubu. Another retired general, Peter Arrow, urged calm, noting that Nigeria's armed forces are now professional, exposed to global standards, and far removed from the banana republic mentality of the 1980s. He said something profound. These are not the soldiers of the past. They are professionals, intellectually grounded, disciplined, and loyal to constitutional order. Indeed, Nigeria's army has evolved. Its officers train in peacekeeping operations from Mali to Sudan. Its leadership attends global defense institutions, and its internal code now emphasizes professionalism, not politics. But even the most professional military is made up of human beings, with ambitions, frustrations, and at times, grievances. That is why vigilance must never sleep. Parable 2. Pigeon. If goat dey laugh with lion, dey watch lion teeth. Explanation. Peace and loyalty must never lead to complacency. Even when institutions seem stable, caution and discipline must remain alive, because temptation and ambition can hide behind smiles. Across Nigeria, civil society leaders have been clear and consistent in their message. Democracy, with all its imperfections, remains the only path forward. Samson Itodo, executive director of Yiaga Africa, said Nigeria's democracy has come of age, and that coups can never be a conversation on the table. Debo Adeniran, of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, CDHR, warned that any attempt to stage a coup would be a political misadventure. Nigerians no longer tolerate military rule. That era is gone. From Lagos to Kaduna, from Enugu to Maiduguri, Nigerians expressed similar sentiments on social media. One citizen wrote, "If this report is true, let those coupists be dealt with mercilessly." We cannot go back to the dark days across the Sahel. Military coups have become an unsettling trend. In Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, three neighbors of Nigeria, military officers have seized power within the past few years, often citing corruption, insecurity, or foreign interference as justification. Each promised liberation from bad governance. Each, however, has left its people grappling with sanctions, isolation, and uncertainty. That is why many Nigerians say, "Not here." Nigeria is too big, too diverse, and too influential to slip back into military rule. If Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, were to experience a coup, the ripple effect could destabilize not just West Africa, but the entire continent's democratic progress. Parable 3. Pigeon. When elephant fall for ground, grass no go sleep that night. Explanation. When a giant like Nigeria shakes, the whole region feels the tremor. Africa's democratic stability depends in part on Nigeria's endurance. Even though officials deny that a coup was ever planned, the defense headquarters did admit that some officers were frustrated by career stagnation and repeated failure in promotion exams. That statement, though brief, reveals something deeper. Morale and meritocracy within the armed forces remain sensitive issues. When promotions are delayed and communication breaks down between ranks, discontent can quietly grow. History shows that discontented soldiers often become pawns for political actors or opportunists. That is why addressing the welfare and fairness of military personnel is not just an internal matter. It is a national security issue. Nigeria's democracy must ensure that even those who bear arms for the state feel valued and heard. Trust is the oxygen of democracy. When citizens no longer trust their leaders or institutions, rumors fill the vacuum. This alleged coup story, whether true, exaggerated, or politically manipulated, reveals a trust deficit between the government and its people. The sudden cancellation of the Independence Day parade, the silence from the presidency, and the absence of clear information all fueled suspicion. Nigeria's government, moving forward, must prioritize transparent communication. Citizens deserve clarity, not whispers. As one political analyst observed, in the absence of truth, rumors become government. Parable 4, Pigeon. If you no tell people wetin dey your pot, dem go think say you dey cook snake. Explanation. When authorities keep silent during times of uncertainty, people assume the worst. Transparency breeds calm. Secrecy breeds panic. So, what happens next? Nigeria stands at a crossroads, not of tanks and guns, but of truth and trust. The investigative panel set up to probe the detained officers will likely determine whether this was a genuine coup plot or merely a case of internal military indiscipline. If evidence confirms that a plot existed, expect trials before military tribunals, possible dismissals, and reinforced security around national leaders. If, however, the investigations reveal exaggerated claims or political manipulation, the government may face renewed scrutiny, both from the public and the international community. Either way, this episode will likely push Nigeria's leadership to tighten its grip on military discipline, improve communication between ranks, and reaffirm loyalty to civilian authority. International partners, from ECOWAS to the African Union, will also be watching closely. After recent coups in the Sahel, the last thing the region needs is instability in Abuja. Politically, the alleged coup has already created subtle shifts. The government may use it to justify stronger security measures, increased intelligence surveillance, and tighter monitoring of dissenting voices within the military and even among civilians. Opposition politicians, on the other hand, may use it to question transparency and governance efficiency. Civil society organizations will continue to call for vigilance, not just against coups, but also against creeping authoritarianism disguised as national security. In essence, Nigeria must walk a fine line, defending democracy without suffocating it. This episode offers several lessons for Nigeria, for Africa, and for the world. First, democracy requires constant maintenance. Freedom, once earned, must be guarded daily. Second, the military's loyalty cannot be assumed. It must be nurtured through fairness, discipline, and purpose. Third, leadership must communicate clearly and truthfully in times of crisis. Silence invites suspicion. Transparency builds confidence. And fourth, citizens must remember that democracy is not a gift from government. It is a duty shared by all. Parable 5, Pigeon. If you give person yam, you go give him knife to cut am. Explanation. Freedom is not enough without the means to protect it. Citizens must be empowered, politically, economically, and socially, to sustain democracy. Today, as Nigeria reflects, the mood is mixed. There is relief that any potential threat was contained before it materialized. There is anger that such an idea could even arise in 2025. And there is determination among many Nigerians to hold firmly to democratic governance, no matter its imperfections. Ordinary citizens have shown that they remember history, and they refuse to repeat it. From marketplaces to social media, one can hear variations of the same sentiment. We no go gree. We no want military again. This rejection of authoritarian rule is perhaps the greatest sign of Nigeria's democratic maturity. If Nigeria continues on its democratic path, it could become a stabilizing influence in the Sahel, a counterweight to the recent wave of coups. But if internal fractures deepen, the country's leadership may find it harder to play that role. In a continent where democratic institutions are still fragile, Nigeria's example carries immense weight. A peaceful, transparent resolution of this alleged plot will strengthen not just Nigeria's democracy, but Africa's collective faith in civilian governance. Nigeria's story has always been one of resilience. From civil war to military rule, from recessions to reforms, the nation has faced storms and survived them all. This moment, too, will pass. What matters is whether Nigeria emerges wiser, stronger, and more united. As Intervlog often says, it is not the fall of a tree that defines the forest. It is how the roots hold after the storm. Parable 6, Pigeon. When rain beat foul, e still go shake body, e no go stop to crow. Explanation. Even after hardship, hope must continue. Nigeria may face challenges, but its democratic spirit must never be silenced. At Intervlog, we look beyond today's headlines. We see patterns, the lessons behind the noise, the pulse behind the politics. Nigeria's alleged coup plot is more than a security story. It is a moral test. It asks whether Africa's largest democracy can stay true to its promise, not just in words, but in actions. It asks whether citizens can demand accountability without losing faith in their institutions. It asks whether the military, once the gatekeeper of instability, can now be the guardian of stability. To every Nigerian watching, from the youth in Ibadan to the teacher in Kano, from the trader in Aba to the soldier in Maiduguri, this moment is a reminder that democracy is not just about elections. It is about patience, accountability, and shared destiny. Nigeria's greatness will not come from uniformed men on parade grounds, but from united citizens who believe in the power of law, not the rule of fear. Parable 7, Pigeon. No matter how sweet for monkey ear, no fit use banana rule forest. Explanation. Temptation may sound appealing, but leadership requires discipline, not desire. Power seized by force never sustains peace. Africa is at a turning point. In some regions, democracy is deepening. In others, it is retreating. From the streets of Accra to the corridors of Addis Ababa, from Nairobi to Niamey, the continent is deciding, one country at a time, what kind of future it wants. Nigeria, as Africa's largest democracy, must lead by example. Its stability is not only its own victory, it is Africa's collective triumph. In the weeks ahead, Intervlog hopes to see transparency, open investigation, clear communication, and justice served without fear or favor. We hope to see unity across political divides, because democracy thrives not when everyone agrees, but when everyone agrees to disagree peacefully. We hope to see a military that remains professional, loyal, and proud of its constitutional duty. And we hope to see citizens who never give up on democracy, even when democracy seems to give up on them. Nigeria's democracy is young, but it is alive. It has stumbled, but it stands. This alleged coup attempt, true or not, has reminded the nation of something precious: that democracy is fragile and must be defended, not just by soldiers, but by citizens. The story of Nigeria, like that of many African nations, is not a straight line. It is a winding road, with detours, with potholes, with surprises. But it is moving forward, and as the journey continues, Intervlog will be here, to watch, to tell, and to remind the world that in Africa, truth still speaks, and democracy still breathes. Final parable, Pigeon. If night too long, nah, because day never reach, but sun go still rise. Explanation. Darkness never lasts forever. Even when democracy seems dim, the dawn of hope always comes. This is Intervlog, where stories meet truth and truth meets Africa. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more updates as the investigation unfolds and Nigeria charts its next chapter in democracy. This is the end of our program today. See you on Intervlog same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thank you for watching Intervlog. Thank you.